Hi, I'm sorry that it has been 2 months since my last video, and this is only video number 3. I apologize for that, and there's no excuse. There's no real reason for it. I've just been pretty much lazy. So I wanted to start with that and apologize. Second, I also want to say that I have been listening to and watching videos by everybody and just kind of checking out what's been happening. I'm hoping to hear more from many people who haven't responded or who don't post videos that often. I'm hoping to hear more because there's definitely an inflow of expression from sides of different parts of the discussion, and I wanted to hear more from people who I haven't really heard from. So there's that. I wanted to do this video to kind of start out on what I'm talking about in my thesis or in the project, and just kind of put out there in more English terms instead of academies, just kind of putting out there what I'm trying to say, and also what kind of started the project also, or what my intention was, or what I was fired up about when I started it. So in the beginning of my thesis, and this is right smack in the introduction, I theorize about identity and about how it constricts and creates possibilities by our defining of who we are, by me saying who I am, being identifying as being white or as a woman, or by not being intersexed, or by being in a relationship with a man currently, being viewed as being heterosexual, looking like I'm able-bodied, all of these different parts of whether I say I am, whether the world treats me as such, or I do actions in the world that work with how people see that group or that type of person to act. These different ways of creating identity both empower us. I mean, as being a feminist, me saying I am a woman could be really powerful in a lot of ways. In saying I am a woman and I'm powerful is a very strong statement, and it could also be very empowering when I say, okay, well, you're a woman too, let's get together, let's create a movement. I wanted to just kind of talk about how important identity can be, and whether you say it, whether you're treated as such, whether you're assumed to be something, or whether you act in a way that that pushes assumptions that who you are or what your identity is. For instance, I could say I am heterosexual, but in my life I have sex with women. It's kind of interesting. You could claim whoever you are, do actions in another, and then other people can see you and such, and you could have 3 different facets, at the very least, 3 different facets of your identity, and how you're seen, how you act, and how you're treated, and what you say. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but more further than that, kind of deeper than that, what I find interesting is just by us claiming who we are could both be empowering, like I said, with feminism, or it could also be really restricting. By me saying I am a woman, I'm saying what womanhood is. People would look at me and say, okay, so that is what a woman looks like, that is what a woman does, that is what a woman says. What are your chromosomes? What does the genitalia look like? What kind of puberty did you go through? Did you go through puberty? There's all these ways that by me saying I'm a woman, it defines what womanhood is. And so these categories could be really empowering, in that I could meet with other people who call themselves women, or who look like women by my definition, or are named as women by the medical authority, and then we could get together and start a movement. Or it could also just be really constricting, because now people who identify as women, like trans women, identify as women, but they don't fit the standards in so many ways that people don't treat them as women, and therefore they routinely have many facets to their identity, who they are, what they do, who they look like. So lots of clips, sorry, but what I also want to get at was this concept of repetition. In that me saying that I'm a woman, and then the person next to me saying, I'm a woman too, someone else saying I'm a woman, medical authority saying this is what womanhood looks like, the media saying these women here are looking, you know, more on womanhood. By all of this, just like inscribe. It's almost like in elementary school, or when you're a child and you're learning what a goat is, and you say, that's a goat, that's a goat, that's a goat, that's a goat. And it's like, that's how you find that that is what a goat looks like. If you're told the whole time that goats have this and this and this and this, that is how we understand that animal. Same thing with sex. If we say, this is what womanhood is, this is what womanhood is, then that's what we come to assume. That's where our perspective is lying. We're focusing in this sphere of this is what women are. And then when we find it, we add it to that category. We add it to, okay, that is what womanhood is. And throughout history, womanhood has been back and forth, and it's interesting how sex and gender, sexuality, race, identity, in so many different ways has been formed by kind of applications of things. For instance, oh, women wear skirts. Okay, skirts equals woman, skirts equals woman. Or long hair equals woman, long hair equals woman. It is so funny to me, and scary to me, to think of all of the ways that we have come to read other people, to understand, to read their bodies, and determine who they are, and then assume that we have the power to do that. You know, people with authority, people with badges, people with degrees, people with with status have more power in naming who we are, and I find that really terrifying, really, really terrifying. So what I'd really like to get at with that is to not just pick apart authority as if it's this, you know, the man sort of a upper class sort of a thing, but to see how we're all contributing to this. I have a strong understanding that everyone in the world has power and privilege in some area of their life, and with that, use that privilege to speak up. And I know that the masses, if we're all repeating the same thing again and again and again without any sort of a rethinking of ourselves, of the people around us, admitting that we don't know, I think is really important. Admitting that I don't know your identity. Could you tell me how you understand yourself? I think is a really important and revolutionary thing to do. To give the power to the person to say, who are you? I also see how impossible that is. I mean, how complicated that is, especially asking people who are, even giving them a name, even giving a name of people who are intersexed is troublesome, because not everyone here identifies as being intersexed, or are identified as being intersexed, and it is just so complicated. And I wanted to start my thesis, and I think I feel pretty confident in that I did it pretty well, to show how humble we all need to be in I don't know who you are. And I think that that's really important. And to also just see how repetition is really creative. It's almost always creative. And in the ending of my thesis, and in the ending of these videos, or you know, further on, I want to talk about how it could also be destructive. Repetition could be destructive at the same time, and I'm using what Judith Butler says about the re-inscription and the moment when something is put up in to be re-inscribed, it's being called into existence. So it's being put back up in our visibility, so it's there, and then you can kind of think about it. But it's a quick second, so I wanted to just kind of talk about re-inscription, repetition, identity, the empowerment of it, and the destructive force of it. And just ask that we kind of look at this as being a humble endeavor to kind of understand some of the infinite complications of people's lives and identities, and that there's no way that you can identify someone by me identifying as a woman, that being much more complicated than the word woman. And it includes the history of what womanhood has been. It includes the medical definition of what woman is right now, this time. and it also includes everything that I understand as womanhood to be. And that's just here in this place, in this location, in this house, in this community, in this city, in this state, in this country, and then there's infinite other places where my same position would be completely different. So, wow, that's overwhelming. Just wanted to put that out there. Thanks.